today is quite interesting.
I'm really happy to introduce my guest today. We are all about the boobies. Sex surrogacy.
You should be feeling yourself up
Every chance you get. This is happy hour.
happy hour.
Happy hour. I'm really happy.
I don't think you're happy enough.
And now, it's Happy Hour with Dana Pepper.
Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm your host, Dana Pepper. And, you know, for those of you that have been listening and or watching the show when we were on at 3 o'clock, you're going to start to notice some changes. Little subtle changes, but big changes nonetheless. Because it occurred to me that now that we're at 5 o'clock, there's no reason why I can't be drinking. And that's not to say that I wasn't drinking when the show was at 3 o'clock. It just means that now that it's at 5, A, I don't have to hide it, and B, everybody can join me. So I don't know what you're doing right now. I'm not encouraging drunk driving or drinking and driving by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're able, grab yourself a glass of happy and let's get it on. Welcome to Happy Hour. Hey, Cedric, I missed you last week.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. Is everything okay?
Oh yeah, it was just a checkup.
Okay, fantastic. Well, my new intro sounds amazing. Thank you.
Well, we're still working on some other ones in the laboratory.
Like I said, there's going to be a lot of exciting changes, but I am excited. Okay, so all month this month, we've been giving thanks to some unlikely recipients. Last week, it was some local charity organizations. This week, I'm showing some love and appreciation for therapists. Yes, therapists. Why? Because we live in a crazy world. And can you imagine what it would look like if mental health professionals weren't there to talk people in off the ledge? Like, that's nowhere I want to be. So therapists, I love them because they help us make sense of stuff. They remind us that, you know what? It's okay to be a little nuts. Happens to everybody. And the best part about therapists that I love the most is they can prescribe really good drugs. God bless Xanax. Okay, so what's not to be thankful for, right? Now, my guest today, she is a preeminent psychotherapist. She's also a clinical sexologist. And yes, we are so going to talk about that. She is a rehabilitation counselor. And I got to tell you, for those of you that are watching online, she's smoking hot. And it's a little distracting staring at her. But she is the lovely and talented, entertaining Dr. Dae Sheridan. Welcome, Dr. Dae.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you. And so I want to get right into it and start talking about, so people understand, what is the difference between a psychotherapist and other mental health practitioners, like a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Like, what's the difference?
Okay. Well, a psychiatrist is a medical doctor.
Okay.
So that is someone who can prescribe medications.
Okay.
But the psychiatrist, very schooled in all sorts of neurological issues, brain science, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a psychologist who is also a PhD or a PsyD. And that's someone who does testing. That's someone who does counseling, depending on what kind of practice, whether it's clinical psychology, counseling psychology, school psychology, all of that.
Okay.
Psychotherapist could be someone who's a licensed mental health counselor, a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed marriage and family therapist, or an amalgam of all of those. So I'm a practicing psychotherapist. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a board-certified clinical sexologist. So my specialization, although I practice as a general practitioner, treat people for anxiety, depression, all sorts of maladies, mental health concerns. But my specialization is marriage and sex therapy.
Excellent. So we are going to get into that, because my very next question was, who is it that you treat? So you treat people not necessarily with eating disorders or schizophrenia, but married people or couples that are having problems in their relationship and or their sex life.
Right. Well, my training is as in diagnostics as a licensed mental health counselor. So I do treat people for all sorts of things, individuals as well as couples. I just happen to have extra expertise and training training in issues of sexuality or relationships. But, yes, I see adults for all sorts of issues.
Okay, so what is it that made you decide to venture into that particular arena of mental health? Because you listed a lot of other, avenues that someone could pursue. What made you decide on this one?
Well, absolutely. For a very long time, I was always fascinated by sexual things. And even as a child, I never thought it was a big deal. I didn't understand what the taboo or the stigma was.
Because it's not. What is the taboo?
That's right.
I see this thing on Facebook all the time, and I think it was, it's, a picture of John Lennon and then a quote, and it says something to the effect of, we've got to hide to make love and to show affection in public, but it's okay to publicly show someone getting decapitated or their brains getting blown out. I think we've got this really backwards.
Absolutely. And I talk about that a lot in terms of local media and even national news. That, we'll have the Dr. Oz show or something like that. And if they're talking about the doctors, and if they're talking about sexuality, there'll be this big parental warning and turn your kids away. We're going to be talking about sex today, or we're going to be talking about, reproduction or whatever it might be. And yet then it turns to 5 o'clock and the news comes on and they're talking about brutal rapes. They're talking about murders.
Absolutely.
They're showing pictures, and there's no parental warning for the violence in our culture. But in terms of our bodies and sexuality, it's still a no-no.
And see, as a mom and, as a kid, like you said, I never understood what the big taboo was about sex. But now as a parent, okay, I understand that you want to protect your children and all of that, but the way I feel about it is, if my son is 5, and I feel that if he's old enough to ask me a question about sex or sex organs or the difference between boys and girls, it's because he's at a mentally mature enough state to handle the answer. So why not share that information? Why can perpetuate the taboo-ness of sex when, if it weren't for sex, God bless it, none of us would be here.
That's right. That's right.
So you got to praise sex.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. What's your opinion on, speaking of kids and sex, what's your opinion on sex education versus preaching abstinence in schools?
Well, that's a huge question.
Yeah,
okay,
I know. Bring it. You might want to take a drink first, Dr. Dae.
Let me adjust my headphones here. I think that we have been on a track for so long, whether it's politically where abstinence-only sexuality education is what was being funded. And so, but there's very little to no research to show that simply abstinence-only sexuality education, which means don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it until marriage. And there's no other information about sexually transmitted infections. There's no other information about birth control. It's just don't. And so it doesn't...
Which is impractical.
Yes.
And it doesn't work.
Yes. And
who's going to abstain? It's a natural thing.
And what happens is that that abstinence-only sex ed didn't lead to later onset of sexual behavior in adolescents and young adults. But what it did was it increased the likelihood of oral and anal sex.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because...
I'm looking around like, can I say that?
Yes, you can say that, because but this is a real thing. So my cousin, one of my many cousins, I'm from a Latin family, so I've got like 20,000 cousins, but one of them is a guidance counselor in a middle school in Fort Lauderdale. That's where I grew up. And the horror stories I hear that she tells at family gatherings, it's astonishing that kids are ignorant enough to believe, and I blame parents, I blame adults, I blame what we're teaching them, but they are ignorant enough to believe that having anal sex preserves their virginity. Like, anal sex, really? Like, I didn't have anal sex until, like... Never mind. But I think I was married and it wasn't even a choice. Like, I don't know. I think it happened by, the whole accident, that's not where that's supposed to go. Oh my God. Anyway, but these kids are doing that.
Which is super common, by the way. I just want to say that for anybody else listening. You all know who you are.
But, they're when they're going on school trips and things of that nature, they're engaging in oral sex in the back of the bus. Like, this is I'm talking about middle schoolers, not high schoolers where experimentation is where most of us did ours or started, but middle school, these are pre-teens.
Yes, the sexualization of children in our culture has become so pervasive, and it's the new normal, whether it's access to pornography, whether it's the way that toys and clothing is marketed to our children. We're seeing kids sexier and sexier, younger and younger, and that doesn't make it okay. It just because that's what's being sold to us and what's being, shoved down our throats by advertisers and the media doesn't mean that it's okay. Parents, I think, have a very tough spot to be in, because the perception is, if I talk about it, if I tell my children about this, that information equals permission, and we have to get away from that.
Absolutely. Education is power. Knowledge is power. It doesn't give them permission. You teach your kids not to just walk out into the street. You teach them to look both ways, but by doing so, it doesn't mean go play in the street. It means be careful.
Absolutely.
Watch what you're doing.
Right.
And that's the difference. And it's really sad, because then these kids grow up into adults with misconceived perceptions of what sex is about. And then they grow up feeling guilty about wanting to have sex or experiment with sex, or, they grow up with inhibitions. And that to me is a tragedy, because sex, my God, when it's done right, it's like the most beautiful thing in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know how I feel about that in terms of our culture and my peanut butter and jelly analogy.
I am so glad you brought that up. So I met with Dr. Dae a couple months ago, and we sat and we were eating lunch, and we were having this kind of conversation, and she went into this amazing analogy using peanut butter and jelly. And I just sat there with my mouth open like, that's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. Please come on my show and share your peanut butter and jelly. So, Dr. Dae, please share your peanut butter and jelly.
Well, that is quite an intro just to this analogy. Fantastic. Okay, so the way that our culture looks at sexuality and how we perceive it, and so many people in my office, they come to me even though that they are married, they are in a loving, committed relationship, and yet they feel ashamed or guilty about sex. They can't let go. They can't have orgasms. They just feel like they're that dirty, bad person. And
Tragic.
They're going to go to hell. And it's undoing programming. And the analogy I have for it, it's like, consider from birth that what your parents and the church and family and friends and the TV and everybody says, if you eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you will die. You will drop dead on the spot. They are poisonous. They are disgusting. Do not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, can you imagine being a child and you don't eat peanut butter and jelly? Like, that's still my favorite sandwich.
So, and as you grow, the developmental messages about the peanut butter and jelly start to change. So as you're moving through puberty, you still will die if you eat peanut butter and jelly. You're going to get diseases. But what else? You're going to get judged if you eat peanut butter and jelly. You're going to be ashamed of yourself if you eat peanut butter and jelly. Your reputation will be bad. And as you grow older, you're still told all these things. And now you're going to get diseases. You won't be able to go to college. Your life will be ruined if you eat peanut butter and jelly.
But I'm so craving a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I know. And so that's what the push-pull is that, your body is telling you something, your emotions, your hormones, and yet you have all these messages that are negative. Don't eat it. You're going to die. And so what happens then on the happiest day of your life?
You get married.
That's right.
That's such a myth. Did I tell you I didn't believe in divorce till I got married? But anyway, back to peanut butter and jelly.
Yes. Well, then on the happiest day of your life, you put on your big white dress and you walk down the aisle and you meet the man of your dreams, or you put on your tuxedo and fix your bow tie and you meet the woman of your dreams. And what happens is that you then go there in front of God and everybody that you love, and they hand you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they say, no.
Eat.
Yes. Go ahead. No. Eat your sandwich.
Oh,
and
no.
And you're looking at it and you're looking around and everybody's going, eat the sandwich. And so at this point, you're looking at the sandwich, you want the sandwich, but you still have all of these ideas, and they're saying, no, well, now this peanut butter and jelly, it's the most beautiful thing that two people who love each other can share.
But I'm still so afraid, because you told me for the last 30 years that if I ate peanut butter and jelly, I was going to die.
Right.
So now on this night, when I'm supposed to be able to enjoy peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
What? I'm supposed to just eat it?
Yeah, and so it's hard to undo all of those negative connotations and messages about sexuality and about our bodies and not being ashamed and not feeling guilty. And then another thing that goes along with that, Dana, is that then we don't know how we like our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Do you like it smooth? Do you like it chunky? Do you like it with strawberry preserve? Do you like it with grape jam? Do you like it on wheat bread or white bread? Crusts on or off? And so then people are then not only not even wanting to eat the sandwich or knowing how to eat the sandwich correctly, but how they like it and then how to ask for the sandwich the way that they like it. So it's a hard thing to undo. And so that's a lot of what I do with the work with my clients is really helping them give themselves permission
to enjoy peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
All right. Sex. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about sex stuff, more about sex as we get older and some of the issues that adult onset, sexual issues. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Happy Hour. Everybody loves a good happy hour conversation, especially when they get a little strange. So I'm looking for the most bizarre or scintillating happy hour conversation you've ever had or overheard. Submit your story and you could win lunch for two at the Center Club. Then listen to Happy Hour with Dana Pepper every Thursday afternoon at 5 to hear the winning story. Go to facebook.com/Happy Hour with Dana Pepper to share your story. And don't forget to like the fan page. Cheers. As a woman, I am very thankful for men. And to show my appreciation, me and my girls are discussing all the reasons that men make us smile, they satisfy our fantasies, and excite our hearts. We love men. And on the next Happy Hour with Dana Pepper, we're celebrating all the good ones. Happy Hour with Dana Pepper every Thursday afternoon at 5 on the TanTalk Radio Network. Got a message or new product you'd like to get out to NASCAR fans? Well, here's your chance. Baldwin Racing is currently seeking marketing partners for the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour. This 2-day event during Budweiser Speed Weeks at Daytona International Speedway will have live television coverage of the race and enthusiastic fans tuning in nationwide. For more information, call Baldwin Racing at 813-841-7251 or visit daltonbaldwin.com. Hey, Dr. Dae is dancing. I like it. All right, welcome back to Happy Hour. Before the break, we were talking about Dr. Dae gave a great analogy with her peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I absolutely love that analogy because it's so true how kids, as they grow up, they're told not to enjoy sex and to abstain from it, and then wait until you're married, and then you're supposed to enjoy it, but you don't know how, you don't know what to ask for, you don't know what you like, and it causes problems. Like, I've never understood why someone would buy a car without test driving it. How do you say I do and commit for the rest of your life to someone you have no idea what kind of chemistry you have in the bedroom? To me, that's a problem. And I think this is going to be another topic and for another show. But I think religion has a lot to do with our views on sex. And when it feels wrong, it ain't right. So I like to go how I feel, because when it feels good, I'm usually on to something, but it brings me to another point. And that is, those are the issues that we have as we're developing our sexuality. Mm-hmm. As we get older, we also have another set of sexual issues. And that is, there's all of these male enhancement drugs that are coming out into the marketplace, right? So we have Viagra, we have Cialis, we have, a myriad others. But the problem is, I don't understand why aren't there any female enhancement drugs. Dr. Dae, what's your opinion on all of this?
Well, the interesting thing is that the pharmaceutical companies have been working on that from the moment that Viagra took off.
What do you mean working on it?
They're testing. They're doing
for women.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Oh, the little pink pill is what they're trying to work on.
Get out of here.
But the problem is that Viagra, Cialis, Levitra creates vasoconstriction. It's for blood flow
Right.
to the penis.
Right.
And so it's for an erection. It's
Right.
not for libido. It's not for arousal in terms of emotion and desire for a partner, but it really is just about an erection.
Right.
And so,
but if you flow a bunch of blood to a vagina, that doesn't necessarily make it wet.
well,
Or ready.
It could aid. It could aid in lubrication.
Right.
However, you can be lubricated, but that doesn't mean that the person that you're standing next to you're going to want to have sex with.
Amen.
So your body can be doing something, but one of the things, and I speak, this is stereotypical, this is on a bell curve most certainly, but most women, in order to feel sexually aroused and desirous of a partner, need to feel loved, appreciated, affirmed, valued, understood, cared for. That's why I like to say, guys, empty that dishwasher, put those kids in the tub.
Oh, Dr. Dae, you're talking dirty to me.
That's chore play. That's chore play.
I love chore play. That's a new word. # chore play. I love it.
Leads to choregasm.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, so women need to feel that connection, and like I said, stereotypically,
Right.
not, most women, and not all, but need to feel that connection. And so if you just create that blood flow to the genitals, you're not going to get that.
Right.
And so, the things have gone through to the FDA over and over and over and have failed time and time again for the past 10 to 15 years. And inevitably, and they end up trying to market and to test are antidepressants.
No, antidepressants make you fat.
Well, I don't know. There are some side effects. There are some side effects of all types of psychotropic drugs.
Right.
Some people have different side effects for different ones.
But no, well, I can't imagine a woman that would be willing to, okay, well, I might get into my husband a little more if I take this drug that might make me fat. Because if you don't feel, I'm speaking as a woman, if we don't feel attractive, it doesn't matter what he or she says to us. If we don't feel sexy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But sexy is in the eye of the beholder, and I don't think that weight, necessarily speaks to that. But what I would say there is the issue for me, looking at prescribing an antidepressant to increase libido, is changing someone's brain chemistry,
right,
versus going to what's going on in the relationship. In my practice, there are usually 4 things that lead to that low sex drive.
Okay.
And
what are those 4 things?
Okay. So the 4 things. One is the peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
Which is shame, embarrassment, guilt, not having a good, healthy relationship with yourself and your own sexuality, and feeling comfortable and giving yourself permission to participate in sexual behavior.
Bad mental garbage about sex in general.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's one. 2, ineffective sex. If the sex that you've been having is not pleasuring you, and if it's not leading to positive outcomes,
right,
then you're not going to want to do it again.
Exactly. It's cleaning the toilet. Nobody want to do that.
Chore. And yes, not the good kind of chore.
Right.
And that's not sexy.
Right.
That's not sexy at all. So we want to make sure that, the sex is effective and pleasurable for both parties.
Right.
And that that's something that we also have to take responsibility as women. What is an epidemic in our country is faking orgasms. And so
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
Yes. And so, one of the things, if anybody who has any sort of a child or even a pet, perhaps, that
right,
if you know anything about behavioral, interactions,
Pavlov's dog.
Yes, and behavioral modification, is that if you want to see more of the same, then reinforce the behavior.
Right.
And so if your partner is doing something that is not what you need it to be, and you're hooting and hollering and faking an orgasm, well, then guess what? You're going to get more of the same and just like it next time.
Exactly.
And so we teach our partners what we need. So, so the ineffective sex, and the third is discord or unresolved resentments or anger with our partners. That's not sexy. We don't feel connected. If we're not feeling, again, affirmed and appreciated, then that sex drive is going to go down.
So that's more like a breakdown of communication between you and your partner.
Absolutely. And instead of saying, that really hurt my feelings and I'm worried about this, or I'm feeling disconnected from you and I really miss you and I'm feeling lonely, instead I stomp angrily around as I'm making dinner.
Right.
The non-communication that doesn't lead to a greater connection.
That's not the time to come and try to bend me over the stove.
No. And a lot of times, that is what ends up happening, because our partners feel that we're upset or something, and if we're not communicating clearly, and they might not know the right thing to do. And how women connect is, again, through those emotions and all of that. And how men try to connect, again, on the bell curve stereotypically, is through physical affection.
Right.
So in order to try to say I'm sorry or try to make up, there might be the back rub or the swat on the bottom as they're walking by. And
we're just not feeling
And you
that
may be
at the
looking
moment.
like, what? Are you kidding me? And meanwhile, they're trying to reconnect with you without utilizing words, perhaps.
But words work. Okay, so what's the fourth one?
Any sort of sexual trauma, abuse, negative situation
That
in the
makes
past,
sense.
coercion. Just again, and that speaks to number one, which is those negative connotations or messages that you have about sex, and that you may not have had a healthy experience that would then trigger you if you were to be touched in a certain way.
Well, let me ask you this. A few weeks ago, I had a male sex surrogate on my show, and I asked him a lot of questions because obviously most people have never heard of a sex surrogate, let alone a male one, right? So would you, for certain traumatic experiences like being abused or having those negative connotations, all the mental garbage that inhibits someone from enjoying sexual activity and reaching orgasm with a partner, would you ever work with or refer a patient to a sex surrogate? I mean, under your supervision.
Right. I would say some clinicians would. I would not myself.
I would like to know why.
Because I think that there are so many layers of that, and it's working with someone who has post-traumatic stress in terms of a sexual trauma. There's cognitive behavioral therapies. There are lots of things to help heal the trauma, and then to help them get to know their bodies in a way that means something to them. And I want them to take back that power, to feel empowered in their own body, whether it's learning about what pleasures them, masturbation, utilization of toys or erotica, and really feeling that trust in themselves, and then to look to building healthy relationships and how to gain trust with a partner. And I think that I don't know, that's just my perception of what's worked for me in my practice for over 15 years.
Okay, but if you worked with a sex surrogate, then and their goal was the same as yours, teaching them how to pleasure themselves, working with toys, building up a positive image of themselves so that they can enjoy it, things of that nature. If your goals were united, that wouldn't cause you to want to investigate that type of therapy for a patient under your care?
Well, if I meet my clients where they're at, if that's something that they would present to me, then that's something I would certainly speak to them about. But that I would not be the one to present that as an option, because there are so many resources. There's so much education out there. The internet. I mean, it's not.
Oh my gosh, the internet. Are you kidding?
So,
I love the Googles.
I don't know if you have to introduce another human into that's not in an intimate relationship that that may or not. And again, I have not vetted that person. I don't work with sexual surrogates. And so I would not feel comfortable, just as I would not feel comfortable referring to another clinician that I'm not familiar with.
Exactly.
So, I think it's really, again, meeting my clients where they're at, but that would be not on my list.
Okay. Not a problem.
But again, there are plenty of clinical sexologists, sex therapists, marriage and family therapists that would utilize that route. That's just not.
But that's just not Dr. Dae.
Yeah,
no, and that's fine.
It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just not the way that I do it.
Exactly. And you know what, Dr. Dae, I am a big fan of yours because of not only your commitment level to your patients, but the fact that you identified your profession as something that resonated deep within you. Mm-hmm. Like you didn't become a psychotherapist or a sexologist because of the money or the status or the clout or I'm a doctor. It wasn't about that for you. When I met with you, what touched my heart was that you recognized that you felt an affinity towards a subject or a group of people or all of that, and you went towards it. And you said, let me help because I can, because this feels good to me. Mm-hmm. And what you're teaching and how you're impacting your patients is teaching them how to feel good within themselves. But it all starts with you. And the fact that you recognize that and went for it, I applaud you. I'm such a huge fan of Dr. Dae.
Thank you, Dana. You're sweet. Thank you so much.
So then, how do you feel about, let's go back to male enhancement drugs. How do you feel about that? We talked about female enhancement drugs and what might be coming down the pike. Sure. But how do you feel about men that are now using that as, maybe they're not attracted to their partners, or maybe they're having true erectile dysfunction, not because of their partner, but just because of something mental.
Sure.
But they're using drugs as opposed to dealing with the actual issue. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I always want to rule out anything physiological that's going on. I treat a lot of people for erectile difficulties, orgasmic difficulties, and you want to make sure that there's nothing physiological. There are no medical issues that are precluding them from being able to have an erection or an orgasm. If that's something that they that can help them, and if that's something that is positive for themselves and their partners, then I think I'm all for it.
Right.
But I want to make sure in my field, you want to, I'm not a pill pusher. I want to make sure that there is, a treatment team approach where we're making sure we're talking about what's going on emotionally, psychologically, mentally, as well as physiologically. It's like, okay, so if you're not able to get an erection, but then you rule out certain things. Like,
right.
Are you able to do that? Are you able to do that when you masturbate? Are you able to do it when you're on your own with
right.
certain different types of sexual activity? So you want to make sure, because sometimes it really is an emotional and a mental issue in the headspace, and not so much a physiological issue. And whether it's, again, the issue of having unresolved resentment towards your partner, or an attraction issue, or you don't want to mask that with medication.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people, it's hard to go and speak to a therapist about things. I always say that it is my honor and my pleasure to be able to have people ask me to join them in that journey, and to be able to talk about it and think about it and know you want the help, and to actually get there, make the appointment and get to the office is such a powerful thing. But you want to make sure that they're getting what they need.
Exactly.
And making sure that that I'm covering all the bases,
And that you're not just putting a Band-Aid on something, but you're actually healing it,
right,
and fixing the issue.
Right. And that takes time, unfortunately. Right. But going back to the pharmaceutical companies and everything being so easy, I talk about advertising a lot and some of the other things that I do with my work. And I was at a speaking engagement 2 nights ago. We were talking about advertisement and the power of it. And I said, and just as an example, let me ask you really quickly to show you how inoculated with messages that we are on a daily basis.
Right.
How many hours do you have before you have to go to the hospital? How many hours can you have an erection before it's a medical emergency?
4 hours.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room.
I don't even have a penis, and I know
Everybody
you shouldn't have one for more than 4 hours.
Exactly. So I pointed out to 3 of the female attorneys that were sitting to my left, and I said, so when your penis is erect for 4 hours or more, you need to go to the hospital.
Exactly.
So it is about...
Unless you're 22 and you're doing it on your own, then that's just kind of cute.
But even then, but let me tell you, the reason for that is because of if there's too much blood flow, there's necrosis of the tissue, and the penile tissue can die. And so you really do want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
I don't know how men walk around with those things. There's so much stuff to know. So, Dr. Dae, how often do you tell your clients or your patient? Do you call them patients or clients?
My clients.
Your clients. How often do you recommend a healthy couple have sex?
Okay, so there's no magic number. Okay, there's no magic number.
But once a year is unhealthy.
Okay,
right.
I wouldn't say. Okay, I'm not going to say unhealthy, but what I will say is that makes me question what's going on in your relationship.
Okay,
what's going on in terms of how you're communicating, how you're feeling about yourself, how you're feeling about the relationship, because we have friends, we have parents, brothers and sisters, we have neighbors, we have all these people that we have amazing relationships with. Our partner is the only person that we make love to, that we have sex with. All of that we give of ourselves openly and freely with our body,
right,
not just with our mind and our spirit. And so when that is not there, when that is missing, I want to know why.
Exactly.
And so if you go more than 2 weeks, I want you to ask yourself, why has it been so long? Now, I have 2 children, okay, and they are 6 years old and 9 years old.
Ooh,
and
you got a full house,
so
girl.
I know what it feels like to have life literally sucking the life out of you. I know we're tired. We all have 18 jobs. We're running from place to place. We're volunteering. We have our kids. They have their activities.
But you and your husband, you make time to physically connect with each other.
Because I think it's crucial. Because then you just become super awesome roommates. And that and
yeah, that sucks too.
And
because
then people get really pissed.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that and again, one of the things that I say, I just said this the other night where I did the speaking engagement, we were talking about Viagra, that if you are physically connected and emotionally connected with your partner and you're having regular orgasms, socks on the floor are just socks on the floor.
Exactly. Let's get to this. Yes.
And so the toilet seat being up, the wet towel on the floor, those things become non-issues.
Right.
When you're not connected with your partner, those things become a symbol of a lack of respect. Ooh. Those become a symbol of you don't care about me. Those things become, you're selfish and all of that. But if you're connected and if you know that you are with that person and they are caring for you, not only emotionally, but physically.
Then socks on the floor.
You skip by those socks and you pick them up and you throw them in the hamper. They're
Absolutely.
not on fire and going, this.
That was the devil symbol with the horns and everything. That was awesome.
But so it really is. I think it's really crucial, and I think that I am a big proponent of scheduling sex.
Really, you don't think that takes the fun and spontaneity out of it?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask everybody.
Okay,
I want you to think about the last time that you looked longingly across the room at your partner, and then you just magically locked eyes, walked up to each other, started making out. You're fumbling around. You're up against the wall. You're down to the floor, and all of a sudden you are making passionate love.
Dr. Dae! No, I'm kidding.
Not now, Dana. But when is the last time, everybody says, well, we can't put it on the calendar, that takes out the spontaneity. When is the last time you spontaneously had sex?
Right.
We're too overscheduled. We're too tired.
What a great point.
And so if I say you have to put doing it on your to-do list.
But you know what? What a great thing to look forward to.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I would love to look at my calendar because I live and die by my calendar. Mm-hmm. And if I could look at my calendar and see sex,
it's fantastic because then
that would be awesome.
Because then also, instead of waiting like, oh, are they going to want to do it? I don't feel good today. I'm tired of this and that. You know what? It could be an anticipated pleasure for you both, and you can lead up to it with some sexy texting.
And
some
women, we love having stuff to look forward to. Mm-hmm. That is like part of the foreplay for us. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into some hot topics, and I want to introduce a new segment that I'm rolling out today. So we'll do all that when we get back. This is Happy Hour. Everybody loves a good happy hour conversation, especially when they get a little strange. So I'm looking for the most bizarre or scintillating happy hour conversation you've ever had or overheard. Submit your story and you could win lunch for two at the Center Club. Then listen to Happy Hour with Dana Pepper every Thursday afternoon at 5 to hear the winning story. Go to facebook.com/Happy Hour with Dana Pepper to share your story. And don't forget to like the fan page. Cheers. As a woman, I am very thankful for men. And to show my appreciation, me and my girls are discussing all the reasons that men make us smile, they satisfy our fantasies, and excite our hearts. We love men. And on the next Happy Hour with Dana Pepper, we're celebrating all the good ones. Happy Hour with Dana Pepper every Thursday afternoon at 5 on the TanTalk Radio Network. Got a message or new product you'd like to get out to NASCAR fans? Well, here's your chance. Baldwin Racing is currently seeking marketing partners for the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour. This two-day event during Budweiser Speed Weeks at Daytona International Speedway will have live television coverage of the race and enthusiastic fans tuning in nationwide. For more information, call Baldwin Racing at 813-841-7251 or visit daltonbaldwin.com. All right, welcome back to Happy Hour. I'm your host, Dana Pepper, and I have the privilege of being joined today by Dr. Dae Sheridan, a clinical sexologist and preeminent psychotherapist. And you know what? I've been so wrapped up in our conversation, Dr. Dae, and you're so engaging and informative, and I love it. But I forgot to give out the call numbers if you wanted to call in. If you have questions for Dr. Dae and you want to get yourself some therapy, then by all means, please do so. 727-441-3000 or toll free 866-826-1340. All right, so I want to introduce this segment, and it is my Hot Topics.
Hot topic.
You beat me to it.
Sorry.
I was waiting for somebody to do it. I had to pause. I didn't want dead air, but okay, you guys picked up what I was throwing down. Okay, so One of the things I want to talk about is I was online enjoying the Googles, and I read an article, and then I was on my friend's radio show on The Fan. It's a CBS radio station, and he brought it up on the Man Update, and it's about an 18-year-old Russian girl who auctioned off her virginity. Now, I will never talk down about an entrepreneur, and virginity is valuable, and I believe in the free enterprise system. So if you have something of worth that somebody wants to buy, set your price. But Dr. Dae, what do you think about this?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
well,
go ahead. I want to hear it.
You know, I obviously this woman has agency over her own body. She is a legal adult. You know, whether or not that would be considered sex work or prostitution, but if that's what she wants to do, that's going to be her choice. And like I said, if she has free agency and she has the right to do what it is that she wants to do.
She only got 27,000.
No, I was going to bring that part up. Cedric,
sorry.
you ruined the
Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
Okay, so she auctioned off her virginity, and she ended up getting $27,000 for it. So again, I'm not knocking entrepreneurship.
Do you know what she was looking for? Was there a
She was looking for money.
Reserve price?
No, yeah. Oh, you know what? It didn't say. Oh, I gotta ask Ace if there was a reserve price, but I don't think there was. But here's the thing. My moral compass points in a certain direction, right? And it does not allow me to feel comfortable having sex for money, right? Now, but I'm not down on sex workers. Listen, I don't judge. And if it feels good to you and you're making money and you're having a good time, go do it. So if my moral compass pointed in a different direction, I honestly can't think of a better job to have than to be having sex for money. Cedric, you look like you're about to say something.
Oh, I think she should have held out for a little bit more. It seems like there was a story not that long ago about some woman who held out for $1 million.
$1 million for her virginity?
Yeah.
Did she get it?
I think so.
Oh.
I'll try to look it up.
Now, see, that to me, that's just smart. I couldn't do it, but I appreciate the genius behind it.
And it's interesting to me about upping that ante. It's like, well, you only got $27,000 for it, but if it was $1 million, how many people were thinking, well,
exactly, everybody has a number.
Right.
So yeah, what's your
You're gonna ask me what my number is?
Dr. Dae, what's your number?
No.
My number is very, very, very high.
No, and it's like you said, it really depends on your value system, your moral code, and what that means to you. You know, obviously, when it comes to any kind of sex work, there are so many women who are marginalized and abused and
but that's
drug addicted.
Different.
And
she's making a conscious choice. Okay, we have a caller.
Yes, Don, you're on the line.
Hi, Don.
Hello. Hi, Doctor. How are you doing?
Hi, Don.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Don, you have a question?
Yes. I was going to ask you. I have sex with my wife about like once, about an average of 5-6 times a week. Is that a lot? Is that too much?
How is there a such thing as too much sex? Don is saying that he has sex with his wife 5 to 6 times a week.
Now, the only thing I would say is, are you asking?
There any,
go ahead.
Any risk or for my health or
I don't mean to laugh at you, Don. I'm sorry.
No.
Risk to your health. You're going to be happy.
If there's some soreness, I mean, that would be...
Honestly, some people have told me, says, you're crazy, you're doing too much, it's going to be bad for your back or things like that.
Now, Don, are you who's initiating sex? Is it equal and is it equitable in the initiation? Are you always initiating?
Yes.
Is she always initiating?
Most of the time it's me.
Okay.
Sometimes it's her, but
Here's the way that I look at that. You know, again, if it's something that is positive for you and it's connecting you with your wife and that everybody's happy with it, then go for it, absolutely. But the way that usually libido and you know, we call it a desire discrepancy, you know, clinically. And so if I liken it to money, sex and money are actually the top 2 reasons for divorce in our country. But it's also one of the 2 things that I think that we can collaborate on and compromise on together, because no one is ever going to. Okay, so if you think about a budget, okay, you want to buy a car. you're in a marriage and somebody wants to spend this much and somebody wants to spend this much. You can never convince the other person to go all the way over to your side of the budget, and you can never convince them to come to yours, and vice versa. And the same thing with sex. Somebody's going to want to have sex this many times a week. Someone's going to have want to have sex this many times a week. You're never going to be able to effectively make that other person feel exactly the way that you do about that. And so it's about finding a compromise that you both say, what about this many? Well, that sounds good. I can
communication and compromise.
Absolutely. And collaboration.
And Dawn, I'm telling you, if neither of you are complaining, I appreciate the call, but I don't know why you're calling 5 or 6 times a week. Especially, it must be good then. Is it good?
Oh, I love it.
Wait, does she love it, though?
I was going to say, where's your wife?
Yeah, she does. And I enjoy it as good as I did the first time with her. So
well, that's wonderful. And what I can say, you're asking, are there any health difficulties? But what I can say is that you're actually increasing positive attributes to your health because it lowers blood pressure, it burns calories, it reduces depression, reduces anxiety, it clears your sinuses, it helps with muscle tone. It does. So there are cognitive benefits to having sex regularly. There are amazing health benefits to making love. And
let me tell you, I run 2 miles a day, 3 to 4 times a week. I do it first thing in the morning because if I don't get it done in the morning, I get busy with my day. It's not happening at the end of the day. I would much rather wake up and have some morning sex and burn off the same amount of calories, if not more, and have a smile on my face the rest of the day instead of putting on workout clothes and tennis shoes and going, oh, God, here we go. So, Dawn, thank you so much for the call, and congratulations on you having so much sex. That sounds amazing.
Have fun, Dawn.
I think I'm going to double that.
What?
I think you gave me an idea. I might have to double now.
There you go.
Good luck, Dawn's wife.
Okay, check it out.
Yes.
I found there was a Brazilian woman, 21 years old, who auctioned off her virginity. The highest offer that she got was from a Japanese millionaire for $780,000.
Ooh,
now,
Lord.
there's one that's higher than that. An American woman auctioned off her virginity to a guy in Europe for 2.5 million pounds.
Now, 2.5 million pounds?
Yeah.
So double that, and that's U.S. dollars, right? So you know what? When I think about the dirt bag I lost my virginity to when I was 18, I would much rather have the $4 million.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I know everybody has their number. I'm not a hooker, but listen, $4 million for some virginity? Take it.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Shit, take it now.
Yeah.
What? For just one time? Dude, I'll put a sleep mask on. I don't even have to see your face. You give me $4 million and we're going now.
People have done it for much less and much less.
I'm not going to do it for much less. So, Dr. Dae, you're not going to disclose your number?
No, there's no number. I'm happily married.
But you're happily married.
But Vestina,
yes.
I am happily married 16 years tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
congratulations.
thank you very much.
I will drink to that.
Thank
We
you
have
very
to
much.
cheers
Ding.
and toast to that.
Ding. Yes.
Absolutely.
We've been together for 24 glorious years, and we'll be married 16 tomorrow. So, love
oh
you,
my
babe.
gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
My marriage, I was married for 5 years. He's a great father to our munchkin. That's all I've got to say about that.
So what's next on the agenda for the show?
Oh, what's next? Exactly. Moving right along. Our next hot topic. Now, listen, I promised myself that on this show, I wasn't going to get so pop culture-y that I was going to bring up craziness happening in the music industry. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, God, I got to do it. I got to bring it up. So, Miley Cyrus. I know. Roll your eyes. I know. I'm doing the same thing to myself. I can't believe I'm talking about it. But this girl, all right, so she was in Europe doing the MTV Europe Awards, okay? And she won Best Video Award for her song Wrecking Ball. Now, I got to give it to her. It's a great song. I like it. I sing it in the car very often. But how this girl decides to accept her award, she goes on stage and decides, let me twerk with a dwarf. Do you know what twerking is, Dr. Dae, with the shaking of the ass? Okay,
yes, I
she
do.
goes on stage, she twerks with a small person. I don't know if dwarf is acceptable, but
Little
then, a little person, then she decides, let me just spark up a joint. She lights a joint and smokes it on stage. Okay, now, I am not against the smoking of herbs, right? Have at it. But what's wrong with this girl? She's only 20 years old and already she's batshit crazy. What is she doing?
There are so many layers of the Miley. There's, we did on one of the book that I'm writing, Have a Daughter, Be a Man,
right.
or Be a Man University. We wrote a blog about Miley and what was going on. And, the thing, when the MTV Awards came out, so we're still talking about her.
We're still talking about it. Now
God
she's
bless
doing it in Europe.
We're still talking about her. And that's exactly what she wants. And that's exactly what her handlers want.
Right.
And she was controlled and manipulated by so many people for so many years working with the Disney Corporation. And,
right. She's not Hannah Montana.
She's not Hannah Montana anymore. And so I think that this is
anymore.
And so I think that this is a young woman who's trying to find her way, and who has been manipulated so much in the media that she's attempting to manipulate it right back. And I still think that there are handlers and managers. The person that's managing her right now, if I'm not mistaken, and this was a couple weeks ago, could be different now, but is the same person that was managing Britney Spears when she had to go under the conservatorship with her parents, when she shaved her head, when she lost her mind.
When she went batshit crazy.
And so I would recommend for your coming out party. And she's extraordinarily talented. No one can take that away from her.
Absolutely.
And I think that if she were to rest on her laurels of her talent and to just move forward gracefully, but this is what she wants. She has to sow her oats. She did not. These are her wild college years. If you think about it, this is like the child who's in the conservative family who's not allowed to do anything, and then they get to college.
That was me.
And so this is her. These are her wild, crazy college years.
You know what?
Except she's doing it in front of the entire universe.
I was just going to say, I am so glad that I did not have a camera on me from the time I was 20 until I was 27, because, I'm just glad I didn't have a camera on me, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I got a little crazy.
No such thing as a cell phone
Yeah,
camera
right.
in my
There was no
day.
internet back then, and there was no
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Instagram. Thank God. Cedric, you look like you were about to say something. Nope, you're good. All right. So I am going to introduce yet another new segment. Okay, here it goes. It never fails that no matter what bar you're at or who you're with, before the end of the night, somebody always feels compelled to share with you their 2 cents worth of a drunken ramble. Here's mine.
Oh.
Ready?
We're at that portion of the day.
Yeah, we're at that portion of the day for our drunken ramble. My wine's almost gone. We're ready. Okay, so recently, the NFL has come under some scrutiny over one of its players, this guy, Richie Incognito of the Miami Dolphins. And he's come under scrutiny because of
Is this like Chad Ochocinco? I mean, is his name Incognito?
No,
really?
that's not Chad. No, this guy,
is that his real name?
His real name
he didn't adopt his.
He didn't adopt
sort of
it.
Fabulous
It's Richie
moniker.
Incognito. And the irony is, if you saw this guy, he's anything but incognito. This guy is he's just strange. Anyway, the NFL has come under scrutiny because of this guy's offensively racist comments and disgustingly threatening remarks. And I say that, and it's not an exaggeration. I mean, he had the N-word fly in all willy-nilly, threatening his mom. I mean, just crazy, crazy stuff. So
where is this?
This just happened in the last week.
But is this in the locker room? Is this on the field? Is this
This was in the locker room. This was via text message. This was okay. So since the incident occurred, Incognito has been suspended, and the NFL is now saying that it's not part of their culture and they don't condone that kind of behavior and blah blah blah. Of their culture, it may not be part of their culture now because this has come to light, but just a few days ago, almost the entire Dolphins team, they were supporting Incognito, saying things like, this is the NFL and this is our culture and you have to understand it's a different world and we're warriors, we're gladiators, you got to be a man. Really? Okay. Well, NFL, maybe you shouldn't have to define your manhood by the extent to which you embarrass and humiliate another human being. Maybe you should find some other team-building exercises that don't involve mental or physical abuse. And maybe, just maybe, NFL players should have to live up to and exemplify the role model status that our kids are looking up to.
Absolutely.
Listen, the jocks in high school that idolize these players and hope to be them one day, they're still children. And they don't understand the difference between hazing rituals under the guise of team building and straight up bullying. So we all love football, but nobody loves a bully. And everyone knows that bullying has never been right. But in this day and age, NFL, it just ain't cool. So that's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely.
And thank you. And with
done.
that, happy hour draws to a close.
Aw.
Yes. I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Center Club and Baldwin Racing and ALSA Land Insurance. You can check them all out on my website, danapepper.com. Special thanks to my lovely and entertaining guest today, and very informative, I might say, Dr. Dae Sheridan. You can find out more about Dr. Dae and get her daily tips on being healthy, happy, and sexy by going to facebook.com/Dr. Dae. And while you're there, check out Happy Hour with Dana Pepper on Facebook. And please don't forget to like the fan page. Thank you very much. And tune in next week as me and some of my girlfriends run down all the many reasons we are oh so thankful for men. It's going to be a party up in here, and you're not going to want to miss it. Trust me. All right, here's my toast. Ready? Here's to your mental health, wealth, love, and happiness. I'm Dana Pepper. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.